It's time for a massive reality check. After watching a fellow YouTube content creator make absolutely zero progress over the last 12 months, remaining morbidly obese and diabetic, while manipulating his audience with endless pity parties, I am having to step in. Now, standing on a vibration plate and drinking coffee loaded with 4 pats of butter, to quote, isn't biohacking. It's a recipe for metabolic disaster. When you're already carrying a massive amount of stored body fat, in this video, I aim to break down the biological reality of why prioritizing consumerism, gadgets, and just complete utter bullshit of actual physical effort is destroying people's health. Now, this isn't just a critique, it's an intervention. Stop buying useless health tests, stop drinking butter and get to work. Now, this is where the actual work's going to come in. So what I want people to do here is listen very carefully to what I've got to say. So I want you to have a very serious heart-to-heart conversation here about content creator. I mean, if you know and love Thomas from Target Prime Rib. So before we dive into the biochemistry of what is happening here, I need to make one thing really and totally explicitly clear to everyone watching. Do not blackball Thomas. Do not mistreat him. Do not leave nasty comments. And do not abandon his channel. We're here to support him. If you're part of his community, keep showing up, keep subscribing, keep joining his memberships. And please, most importantly, pivot that support towards encouraging him to take this advice, not others, and make a genuine, lasting change to this man's life. We want him around for a long time. He's, I believe, in his mid-50s, and that requires some tough love on this occasion today. Now, I've been quietly observing Thomas's channel now for about a year, and in the world of metabolic health, 12 months is an absolute fucking eternity. It's more than enough time to completely revolutionize your metabolic markers, reverse insulin resistance, and change the whole trajectory of your life, in my opinion. Yet, a year later, the needle simply has not moved. It has not moved. He is still battling diabetes, still struggling with morbid obesity, and still broadcasting a lot of emotional pain, which is sad to see, to an audience that is, whilst well-meaning, is inadvertently enabling him. So now, instead of tackling the sort of physiological work, Thomas is trapped in this magic pill mentality. He fundraises for his community. Fair enough. We all have money to earn. Great. But he uses it to buy sort of niche health tests, quirky gadgets, and pretty much everything else that allows him to participate in a consumerism of health without actually doing the work of health itself. Now, let's use an analogy. So imagine buying a fancy, I don't know, CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, or various blood testing, different measurements and things you can get at your local lab, but then refusing to do the exercise. So it's like the equivalent of buying a high-end digital speedometer for a car, but with a blown engine, and somehow expecting that new dial to help you win the race. Now, the dashboard isn't the problem. The engine block is somehow cracked, for whatever reason. Now, this is kind of another point I want to mention here. So about 6 months ago, this is a bit of context. So before anyone sort of says I'm a bully or they completely misunderstand or misjudge my character, which is absolutely abhorrent. I went on his channel for a collaboration, had a good chat. Now, within minutes of talking to him, it became glaringly obvious to me that his understanding of human nutrition and cellular biology was profoundly substandard, especially for someone that is positioning himself or is a prospective health coach. So because he had a community that has cared for him, which is great, I wanted to pay it forward. I reached out to him, and I had help myself at one point. And I said, I want to coach you for free for an entire month. Now, this would have typically cost anyone else $200 or more, So what I did after the live stream, we had a little brief chat, and I broke down the approach, what to do, the biochemistry around it, how it works. He apparently understood what I was saying, why he was dealing with metabolic syndrome, and exactly how he needs to fix this engine of his biological response in the form of poor health. And his response, other than, yeah, have a think about that, yeah, pretty much absolute silence. I understand the fear of change is paralyzing for people, analysis paralysis, all that sort of stuff. And I have sympathy for people that have that. I understand. The real tragedy here isn't that he rejected a lifeline. It's that by doing so, he selfishly occupied the space, time, and emotional energy that I could have dedicated to someone who was actually hungry for transformation and a real, tangible change to their long-term health outcomes. Now, because our audiences overlap, the crosstalk eventually went back round. I warmed back up to him and sort of said, we all know how it is. You can't help but root for the guy, really. So I sent him direct links to my videos, offered practical, gentle advice, and suggested some actual moving your body exercises. His response to exercising is standing on a fucking vibration plate, despite my clear explanations of why that is not really exercise. Now, a bit more added context here, just to make sure you guys absolutely understand what was happening. Thomas was claiming that he could not afford a health coach or a nutrition coach of any kind. He didn't have the money. And this is whilst the offer was still on the table for him to be coached by me. Now, this was on the channel of Carnivore teacher Alpha, John Sapina, I believe his name is. John, I might have butchered that, but apologies, but you guys probably know who he is. Great guy, friendly, lovely guy, very good chat. And he sort of said in the comments, "Oh, I can't access it." And I was like, hang on a minute. I offered you $200 free coaching off my own back. And I even said to him off there, I said, "You don't even have to tell anyone I did it for you or offered to help. I don't want anything from you. I just want to help you. So it's off my own back, my own, emotional energy. And I'm disabled. I don't have the fucking time and energy to help everyone out. I'm quite select." Now, obviously, I was offended by this. Then got an email from John saying, try to remain composed. And I sort of said, yeah, I respect your sort of space online, your live stream chats and things. But at the end of the day, if someone takes me for a mug, what do you think is going to happen? I'm as real as they come, guys. I'm as real as they come. Now, let's inject some humor into this. So, mostly some hardcore, I guess you could say, physiological reality. Standing on a vibration piece of plastic to lose weight is like shaking a big yank and hoping the friction turns your pennies into $1 million. It's not going to happen. It's basically a glorified foot massager. It has some health benefits, yes, for lymphedema, for reducing inflammation in some cases. Yeah, it's probably better than not doing it. But scientifically speaking, it demands zero cardiovascular output and completely fails to raise your respiratory rate. So why does your breathing rate matter so much? So your respiratory rate. So human fat reduction is actually a physical process of mass exchange. So according to the foundational mass balance models of human metabolism, you don't just burn fat into nothingness. It has to go somewhere. There's obviously an input-output side of it. You actually lose structural fat mass by breaking down the triglycerides, stored adipose tissue, and literally exhaling the carbons as carbon dioxide. So you lose mass. Think of biochemistry when you're a kid in school. Now, there's actually biochemistry involved to break down a fat molecule, a triglyceride. So basically, to break down 10 kilograms of human body fat, adipose tissue, you've got to exhale 29 kilograms of oxygen. And 28 kilograms of that mass is CO2. Okay? CO2 mass. So if you aren't breathing hard, you aren't actually exhaling carbon. It's physically, therefore, impossible to lose weight without increasing your respiratory rate. So therefore, a vibration plate completely avoids the ATP demand and metabolic stress required to actually shrink your waistline, lose body fat. You can't jiggle the fat away. You have to actually huff it out. You have to do work. Video after video, I saw him standing in the vibration plate saying, "Oh, it's better than nothing. Oh, I'm just starting. It's working for me." You're doing nothing. Zero. Zilch. Absolutely zilch. Okay? So this is the next part I want to talk about, the fat side of it, the butter, the diet. Jesus fucking Christ. I can't make it any simpler. Mass in versus mass out. That's what it is. So the diet, Thomas consistently boasts about consuming his butter, coffees, four massive pats of butter, in his own words, to quote, praising, ultra high fat intake's good for me because it's good for reducing cortisol and stress and, losing body fat and all this sort of stuff. But here's the reality and the science, Thomas. When you're morbidly obese, your body is already wearing a massive pantry of stored fat. Your ultimate goal is to force your fat into a state of something called lipolysis. Getting really simple here, guys, nothing complicated. It's a breakdown of endogenous internal body fat through an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase. When you flood your system with massive amounts of fat, you trigger a shift in the substrate utilization via something called the Randall cycle, which is 1963. Sir Philip Randall basically said, if you've got too much going in the cell, the cell itself cannot oxidize fat and continue to lose body fat. You get inflamed, you're still insulin resistant, blah, 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 blah. So that's how someone can remain diabetic, even in the state of a carnivorous ketogenic style diet. Too much mass in the body means you cannot lose mass. Simple, fucking simple. Sorry for swearing, but it is really that basic. It's not, what I'm saying here is not massive science nerd shit, So it's like, your cells are essentially saying, look at the massive influx of butter and say, well, we don't need to open the pantry. The groceries rotting in the porch. So by drinking that much butter, you're simply adding external mass that completely offsets the internal mass you desperately need to lose in the instance of having too much. Now, your body will preferentially oxidize the butter in your coffee instead of the adipose tissue fat on your belly. Simple stuff. Now, the next point I want to mention. Piling extreme amounts of dietary fat into the severely diabetic and obese body without physical exertion is a biological fucking disaster. When you consume extreme amounts of saturated fat without using your muscles as a cellular sink, it leads to a state called lipotoxicity. Now, those excess circulating fatty acids don't just magically disappear. They accumulate in non-adipose tissues like your liver, skeletal muscle, things like that. Now, these toxic lipid intermediates will physically block the insulin signaling pathways inside your cell, directly exacerbating insulin resistance. So you aren't biohacking, you're drinking dietary oil slick, trapping your metabolic dysfunction in a perpetual loop and wondering why the scale won't budge.
1 year, zero progress. Stop the pity parties. Thomas, this is an intervention. Get to work. But I have a condition. It's not my fault. That's a delusion, Thomas. Science says work harder.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Anyway, you aren't biohacking at all. What you're doing here is just eating more fat and gaining more fat over time. You're basically throwing shit against the wall, hoping it will stick, but nothing sticks, ever. So that's why he remains obese after a year. I don't mean to use the word obese in a derogatory, nasty term, but in a medical sense, that is correct. So basically what we have is called the muscle sink. It's a phrase you can kind of use. So by refusing to actually exercise, you're not only preventing the critical biological rescue mechanism, which is the translocation of GLUT for transporters. You're essentially the insulin is telling the body the GLUT4 proteins to come to the surface of the muscle cell and pull glucose out of the blood. Now, since you're highly insulin resistant, that door is jammed. However, forceful muscular contractions on your resistance training, the harder you work, the less you can recover from. The easier you work, or the less hard you work, I guess you could say, the less you'll get. So it's a fine-tuning balance. However, doing nothing is crap. Doing too much is also crap. So you need to be somewhere in the middle, ideally, in this kind of state. Now, these forceful muscular contractions trigger the release of calcium ions. This activates something called AMP. So it's like a I guess you could say, activated protein kinase. So it basically forcefully drags the GLUT4 to the cell membrane, completely independent of insulin. So without forceful muscle contractions, i.e. resistance training, something like that, the ultimate door just stays stuck. You're leaving your blood sugar high and your tissues are starving still, despite being fed. So to Thomas's wonderful audience, I know you love him. That's why I'm making this video, not out of hate, which is why I said all the stuff at the start, which is why I've made this bloody video. And it fucking hurts to sit here, guys. I'm in fucking agony sitting here, but I'm doing this for him. I'm doing this for him. But if you're validating these unusual nutrition practices, I mean, when I say unusual, anything which is substandard, I guess you could say, but then your cherry on his massive fat consumption is 2 pounds of lamb breast he had yesterday, and saying, oh, it's good for you, good for lowering cortisol, keep doing it, you'll be happier for it. You're not supporting him, you're making him worse. You're part of the problem. You're unknowingly acting as accomplices to this man's declining health. And please encourage him to do the hard things. The stuff that works is usually the hardest stuff. Now, he's lost his toes, for Christ's sake. Get the time to just realize what his illness is doing to him. It's sad to see. It makes me fucking sad. You know, he can do better, and you guys could do better too if you're promoting this kind of bullshit. Anyway, this is kind of the wake-up call, I guess you could say, which brings us to today. So I recently watched a few clips doing a live stream with someone called Coach Mandy yesterday. Thomas claimed actually that she thinks that lamb is a high histamine meat to avoid having if you have histamine intolerance. So she's not only almost tried to diagnose him with something she doesn't know jack shit about, she also doesn't know how to fix the problem itself. Fuck me. Mindless gibberish. And it's perfectly illustrated in the deep well of denial we are dealing with right here. So yeah, I'm going to play this video now because I think it's going to be very useful for you guys to see.
So, okay, I am as honest as they come. People don't have to like it, but I speak the truth and have an immaculate track record. I don't know everything, but I'll be damned if anything that comes out is harmful.
Which is true. May sound arrogant, cocky, whatever, but the reality is, the truth is the truth. The testimonials don't lie. My track record does not lie. I have the certifications, the accreditation, the lived experience, the anecdotal experience, and a nice fucking pro card behind my back with trophies scattered around my room to prove it. I know something about getting in shape, guys. I don't know everything by any means, but I know a damn decent amount. I'm the first professional carnivore bodybuilder ever. The first legitimate one at that as well. So maybe I don't have all the answers for everyone out there, but I have some of them. So give me some fucking credit.
And that's good to know. And you know what? I think in your case, Jonathan, honesty is the best policy. Just be honest.
Which is why I made this video.
Honest, be yourself, and what comes may come. You know,
I think many of us are in this space, and that's what we appreciate about one another, and we appreciate that from those doctors who are like gods really for that have pointed us in the right direction, and thankfully that we have what is it, that the fact that they're doctors, the credibility, yeah.
Or a nutritionist trained in, I don't know, nutrition to talk about, I don't know, nutrition.
And I think, and they've obviously put their money where their mouth is. They've been truthful.
Yeah, I do tend to agree there, yes. We do have some very good carnivore doctors in the space, but not everyone that has doctor in front of their name that is a carnivore is by default good. I've seen a lot of shit out there, a lot of crap information.
They've spoken from the hip, and many of us in this, all of us in this space, really, that's what we're here to do. We're trying to promote health, a healthy way of eating, a healthy medicine.
Okay. All right, so I'm just marking some other things too. So the next thing that Jonathan mentions is your appetite will naturally reduce over time, dependent on the mass of your body, assuming ancestral tenets and good recovery habits. Your appetite will remain normal.
So that's in relationship to health promoting circadian rhythm, going to bed on time, not watching TV late at night. I am guilty of that. My own fault, but I live with a very serious chronic pain condition, so sleeping is extremely difficult for me. So I actually practice something called biphasic sleeping, which works better for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan's saying everything Jonathan's saying is
sound, right?
Yeah,
very sound.
All right, so next one. You just need to use fat, or just he does mention my name. Use fat as a lever to maintain your weight and output. Thomas is eating often 2 to 4 times more fat than me daily, and I'm a bloody athlete. For Christ's sake, it's insane. So I do eat a lot more fat than you do, Jonathan. But I'm not really adding the fat as much. Like
no, you are adding the fat, Thomas. You absolutely are adding the fat. You're adding fat to coffee. 4 pats of butter. I mean, a pat of butter is what, 8 to 10 grams? That's 6 to 8 grams of fat. That's times 4, 6, 12, 18, 20, 24 to what? Maths ain't very good here, guys. Oh. You're eating at least 25 grams of fat each time you have a cup of coffee, by the sounds of it. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of fat. You're also adding on extra fat onto your other foods. You're making keto snack treats, which is fine, which is fair enough. I'm not against them. But they, by default, have extra butter, extra fat in them. So you are adding fat. You shouldn't be proud to say, oh, I'm eating 2 to 4 times more fat than you. Well, you've got probably 50 times more. I don't know the number. You've got 10 to 20 times more body fat on your body than me. So it's not working. It's not that your biology is different to mine. We're 99.9% genetically identical. Your fat needs are not 2 to 4 times more than mine, Thomas. Think about it. I'm a very lean bodybuilder, so I eat less fat. So it kind of makes sense. The less fat you have in your body, the less you probably eat, to some degree. But 2 to 4 times, don't know.
I usually just let them do their, like I do add, but I don't know. Yeah, but again, you're hearing so many things, like and the thing is like, I had to find my own path, basically. Like I get so much advice of, you need to eat more fat, you need to eat less fat, you need to do this, you need to do that, and I'm listening to everybody. I'm listening.
You're not listening to me though, Thomas, because you'll agree with what I say, but then you won't apply it. And you have not tried what I have said. I know you have not tried what I've said, because I've been following you for a long time, namely a year. I've been listening very, very intently and carefully to your videos. You have been adding extra fat. You have been eating an enormous amount of fat, and it has not worked. You're following the wrong advice. You're going to the person, I won't say who, out of respect for them. I do actually like the person who says it. They're very nice individual, but you're looking at this person who is morbidly obese themselves. Then you're looking at me, who's not morbidly obese. I'm using a direct comparison here because it makes sense. It's obvious anecdote, but then you're thinking, obese person, not obese person. I'm going to do what the obese person's doing and ignore what the person whose whole role, job, responsibility in life as a coach is to reduce people's body fat and get them in a healthy, physically fit state. Think, wakey, wakey.
Listening to you, I'm listening to Peter, Papa Carnivore, I'm listening to the doctors. Everybody has, like that's the only bad thing about carnivores. Everybody has different advices, and you have to find out your how. You got to find out your why, and just run with it. And and you might have to do.
You've been doing it for a year and it hasn't worked on, so you need to change lane. Completely obliterate this idea that you need 3, 4, whatever 100 grams of fat per day. You don't need it. It's not helpful to you. It has not provided the outcomes you want.
Some testing. You might have to do some testing. So, that was already asked or mentioned. All right. So, if you eat too much fat, you will remain fat and diabetic. Proven beyond dispute. No more of this. My mood is low and I need fat. It's because of chronic obesity. I bet my life on it right now. Okay, that's
harsh.
I don't know.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francisco Albaita study, 2026, looking at the Kevin Hall studies, mass data analysis proves the mass balance model is the most effective predictor and determinant of long-term body composition outcomes. It is a fact. It's not harsh. I'm spouting science. And by the way, anyone that's wondering where all this is coming from, anything I've just mentioned throughout this video, it will be linked in the description in the references below. Just so you know, I'm not talking out my ass. So it is indisputable fact. Yes.
Okay, and just really quickly, plant-based mama. I think I've seen you on Rick.
I think that's a lot.
You always have to go to coffee.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot, guys. So, what do you reckon? I mean, let's just continue on. Anyway, so, yeah. All right. So, behind the scenes, I have actually messaged Thomas directly before all of this stuff. It's not just he's said something, I've then had some massive rebuttal, and I'm trying to kick his ass. I'm not a bully, guys. I want to help the guy out, hence why I'm spending the time to do this. It takes a lot of effort on my part. But so yes, I have messaged him directly. I've offered emotional support. I've offered actionable advice, not just look at this. I've actually explained it, how to do stuff. His response is to basically brush it off, rub it in my face, and continue doing absolutely nothing of substance on his massage plate, for example. That's basically it. Now, bear in mind, I navigate my own physical disabilities and hurdles every single day. I know what it's like to be in pain. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to struggle. I really fucking do. I'm not trying to get a pity party. I'm trying to empathize. I'm trying to show I know how you feel, so therefore I have a good understanding of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And I work with people in very similar situations. So you need to take my advice, my friend. You need to take my advice. Now, this is, despite all this, I managed to find a way to get the work done just for sheer unadulterated effort. Thomas has significantly fewer physical limitations than I do. Significantly, much less. Yet he refuses to lift a finger to save his own life. Now, this isn't a me versus him situation, hence why I said at the start, don't blackball him or give him negative comments or unlike his videos, anything like that. Don't, I'm not your enemy, Thomas. I'm probably the best friend you ever have if you actually do something and pull your finger out your ass. Honestly, this is your wake-up call, my friend. This is a loving, desperate intervention. This is your wake-up call. So sort of key notes here really is stop drinking massive amounts of fat. Your body does not need it. Is acting as a biological roadblock. Your mitochondria will always prioritize burning that butter over your own body fat. Stop squandering your money on pointless health tests. The obvious problem is staring right at you in the mirror. Then maybe you could afford that journey or trip to Quack Your Health. I'm trying to save you money here as well, Thomas. I'm trying to give you stuff for free, give you the information for free, save you money for free off my own back. You don't need a new speedometer. You need to rebuild that engine, like I mentioned earlier, through movement, real exercise and movement. Not standing there on one leg and thinking, oh, this is hard. Move, work, try, fuck. We'll say, this might sound odd as well, but stop unintentionally misleading your kind and soft-hearted audience. I mean, they're actually really nice people. I have lovely audience myself, great subscribers and followers. And I think that, we've got the same sort of following. And essentially what they're doing is funding a lifestyle right now that is actively harming you. So I'm not here to be liked, guys. I'm not built for comfort. I'm built for purpose. And today, Thomas, my purpose is to stop you from putting yourself in an early grave. So please wake up. Be honest with the audience that you love. Apologize for the distraction of the gimmicks. And for once in your life, get to work. It's none of my business what you spend your money on. None of my business what you choose to do. But don't fuck around with other people and their emotional capacity because of it. And have a lovely day. And please try to make young Thomas from 50 years ago proud. He's still in there and he's worth fighting for. As always, references to my factual statements will be in the comments below. Cheers, and let's save this guy's life. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully this is informative to you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And if you want to support me, support what I do, feel free. I actively promote other channels, and every penny that I earn, in excess actually sometimes, through YouTube is put back either into my channel to help support people with video like this, or it's used as a fundraising means to actually subscribe to other channels through various memberships to support them, so we can put out the carnivore approach to a much greater degree. Take care, guys, and best of luck with your health journey. I live with a condition called CRPS, which is the most painful condition known to man, and also suffer with autism and chronic fatigue syndrome. I've been having a hard time recently. I'm reaching out for help. If anyone is able to support me, it'd be much appreciated. And it is for a Give, Send, Go link, which I'll link below this video. Thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of this clip.